Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's live in the Get Unstuck series. I'm Sarah Archer, and if you haven't met me before, I'm a career and leadership coach, and I work predominantly with female leaders to get their next leadership role without burning out or selling out. And the Get Unstuck series is live in LinkedIn and also in my Facebook group, the Love What You Do Lounge. So you're very welcome if you are joining me here live. Please do say hello. Give me a little wave or a hello in the comments. It's always nice to know people are watching. And if you've got questions about today's topic, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat and I will answer them live, or I'll come back to them later if you are watching on replay, which I know a lot of people do catch up later on. So the Get Unstuck series is designed to give you ideas, inspiration, motivation to help you with your career thinking in some way. And so there's a whole variety of different topics that I cover. And if you have got something you'd like me to cover, then please do let me know, pop it in the comments or message me. Very happy to do a live on a topic of your choice. And they're always practical, the lives. So they're around 15 minutes. Every Wednesday at 12:15, and they're always with something that you can take away and action straight away. So without further ado, let's dive into today's topic, which is all about how to cope if you don't get the job offer. Because let's face it, if you're job searching at the moment, and let me know if you are, it can feel tough. You know, often there are 3 or 4 or more interview rounds. You might be doing a presentation, a pitch, you might be doing a task or tests, and it can just feel, you know, it's taking a lot of energy, a lot of your time, a lot of your focus to do the necessary preparation to try and get that job offer. And then when you go through all of that and you don't get that job offer, when you're told you're close, but you're not close enough, it can feel devastating. It can feel frustrating. It can make you angry. It can, you know, just be sometimes the straw that breaks the camel's back when you've got a busy job anyway, and then you've put all that effort in and you don't get the job offer. Yeah, it can feel really disheartening. So it's good to be able to think about how you're going to bounce back from that, particularly if you know in the past, you know, that's happened to you and it's had an impact on you. Then it's definitely good to be thinking, okay, what do I need to do to look after myself to make sure that actually I can use this to make sure the next round of interviews I get the job offer. You know, because rejection's hard, isn't it? Whatever kind of rejection it is, it's hard to deal with. So just having a kind of plan in place to know you can manage it is really helpful. Because also going through that whole interview round and not getting a job offer can start to impact your career confidence. It can start to impact your motivation for the job search and, you know, the energy and time you're going to put into it. And we don't want that to happen, because if you're job searching for a reason, and it's either because you want a change, you want to leave your current role for some reason, or, you know, you're ready to get that next challenging role. So we don't want it to kind of, you know, impact negatively your ability to secure the role that is going to be really right for you. So I've got 8 steps you can think about to help you bounce back and increase your resilience when you're job searching. And like I say, if you are job searching right now, do let me know. And if you've got questions about this, do let me know. So the first thing to say is just to take some time to regroup, you know, so rather than kind of pushing on with the next application, maybe to just step away from the job search for a short period to just re-engage with the things that bring you joy, the things probably you haven't had time to do because you've been focusing on doing all your interview prep, but just to kind of look at how you can, you know, fill your cup, recharge, and not have to think about job search for even if it's just a weekend, but just to step away and give yourself a bit of space. And while you're doing that, just to try and remind yourself to get perspective on it, because at the time it can feel that it's personal, but obviously, you know, with perspective, it's not personal, and that there will be other opportunities that come along. And I know when I look back on some of the jobs that I didn't get, even though I might have been devastated at the time, I can look back and think, actually, it was the right decision because I wasn't ready or I wasn't the right person for that particular role. So knowing that actually maybe it's happened for a good reason and the next role that you apply for is going to be the one. The second thing, and this is not surprising for me to say this, but is to get feedback. Now, obviously, it can be hard to sometimes get feedback from interview panels, but if you are going for a senior role, they should be really prepared to give you interview feedback from either the recruiter or from the interview panel. Now, the thing with feedback, it can be mixed, particularly for interviews, because obviously they have to come up with a reason why they didn't offer you the job. So you do want to just be mindful that you might not want to necessarily accept everything that they're saying about why they didn't give you the role, because again, they have to come up with a reason. So with any kind of feedback, it's always thinking, does this resonate? Do I want to act on it? And not just accept that it's truth. But there can be, really useful information in that feedback about why you weren't offered the role. So it's definitely worth asking for it, even if it feels a bit uncomfortable, just so you can use it to really improve your interview performance for the next time. Then the third point is to just analyze what's going on. So asking yourself how much of a match this role that you just applied for that you didn't get is for you, and trying to kind of understand what might be happening. So I've got a little example for you here. So I had a client I was working with where she was going for a head of department role, where obviously she would have to set the vision, she would have to set the strategy for her department. And her real strength had been in I can't never say this. God, I can't say this. So it's basically making the strategy operational. I don't know why I can't say that word. Making the strategy operational and delivering. So having real impact through her delivery. And she was being shortlisted for roles because she was so successful at turning that strategy into, reality. Making it operational. And but what she was realizing when she did that analysis was that actually what she wasn't doing was convincing the interview panel that she could do the vision and that she could do the strategy. And often when you're going for your first leadership role, it can be that's the thing you have to really be mindful of, because you might be just tempted to talk about the operations and not demonstrate the strategy piece. So that was really helpful for her to then at her next interview be much more mindful about showing her strategic skills. So doing that analysis can be really helpful. And then the next point is just to obviously review your interview technique. Now, obviously, your interview technique is probably working well because you're getting to the final stage or stages of the process. So it might just be thinking about tweaking things and noticing, maybe even through having a mock interview, that there are certain things that you might be saying that aren't really that helpful in the actual interview. So again, I had another client I was working with where she was in a leadership role, but when she was talking about what she was doing with her team, she was very much talking about the team's successes and emphasizing the team part of having that impact, because one of her core values was collaboration and teamwork. So she found it really hard to say I. But when she realized that actually for the interview panel to be able to offer her the job, they needed to understand what her role was within that team experience, and that she had to name that for them, that they couldn't assume that she was doing it. She actually had to be really explicit about it. It was a game changer for her, and it really helped her up her game in her next interview. So then our fifth point is to think about how you're creating impact, because obviously at the interview, part of that is about your impact. So if you watch my live on executive presence that I did, the research showed 26%, I think it was, of sort of the decision about the job offer was around executive presence. And part of executive presence is really understanding what your USP is, your unique selling points, what your personal brand is, and then how you communicate that. So doing some work around that and being able to connect it to how you add value to the business can be really powerful. And I had another client I was working with. So we were doing some coaching, some leadership coaching, and he was also going for a new role at the same time, and it was a development director role, and he was on the 6th round with this particular organization. And in our coaching sessions, we'd been doing some work around his personal leadership brand, and he'd never even thought about a personal brand and what that meant and how he might showcase that through his work. And in that 6th round of the interview, which fortunately was just after our session, he was asked a specific question about what his personal brand was. So he was able to talk coherently about how his personal brand aligned with that organization's brand and what they were trying to achieve. And he then did, after interview 7, get the job offer. But if he hadn't had that thinking time around what his personal brand actually was, he probably would have stumbled over that particular interview question and not been able to link it directly to the organization and showing that alignment and that coherence. So it's definitely worth thinking about, okay, how do I want to create impact, and how can I do that through being really clear about my personal brand? And then the 6th point is to obviously think about boosting your confidence, because we know that going through the whole job search piece, the whole interview thing, it can take its toll on your career confidence if you're not getting the outcomes that you want. So, it can make you start to question yourself, to kind of allow that inner critic to be vocal, to sort of, let those kind of doubts creep in about your ability. And we don't want that to happen, because I know as a coach that the mindset and your confidence levels are as important as your ability to, use the STAR technique and showcase your achievements in a competency-based interview. So it's really important to pay attention to that mindset and confidence piece, and put some things in to support that. So, you can just think about, how can I reconnect with my successes and remind myself of all the great things that I've done in my career. Maybe I want to do some affirmation work to boost my mindset. Maybe I want to do some work around my inner critic to, not let that voice have airtime, and to counteract it with evidence about how great I am in reality. So paying attention to that piece is really important in terms of bouncing back after the interviews. And that leads me into point 7, which is to increase your resilience, because obviously you can't change the outcome. You don't have any control over their decision-making process, apart from obviously what you present at interview. But you can control how you're going to respond to it. So obviously being able to see it as an opportunity to learn, to refine your interview technique and your interview performance is the best way to respond to it. But you also want to acknowledge the feelings that will come up for it. So, giving yourself permission to feel disappointed, to feel frustrated or angry or whatever it might be that you're feeling, but not to allow yourself to stay and dwell in that, but to actually move yourself into, okay, well, let me think about what I can learn from this experience, and maybe go through the previous 6 points to just give yourself that opportunity to take from it what you can and learn from it, so you're not going to repeat those mistakes into the next interview. And then obviously the final point is to get back out there, because you don't want this experience to put you off job searching and end up staying in a job where you're plateauing, or you're feeling frustrated, or you just know it's not the right job for you or the right organization. So, I do know people who've stayed in roles because they hate the job search and the interview process so much, they would rather stay in a role that they don't enjoy than go through it. And I just feel that to me is heartbreaking. really, because the thing I love about interview coaching is there's some really simple techniques that you can use that can really increase your impacts at interview. And there's lots of things you can do to make the job search a whole much more enjoyable experience. So it is important to keep going, to not let that experience put you off, but to get help if you need it. And obviously, interview coaching is available if it's something that you feel you just need some help with, to either just turn the dial on your interview performance so that you are more likely to get the job offer at the next round, or if you just feel, I just really need some support with interviews because I just feel like my confidence has taken a knock. So I do offer interview coaching, so that's something you want some help with, then obviously do get in touch and we can have a chat about it, to know that actually you don't just have to keep ploughing on, that you can actually do things to really enhance your performance. I think is really helpful in terms of that whole bouncing back as well. So if you are going through the job search experience at the moment, I know it's tough. So do, look after yourselves, make sure you're putting lots of good things in to give you, boosts during this time. And obviously do get in touch if you need support with either job search or the interview experience. And I'll be back next Wednesday for a very different live. So next Wednesday, I'm doing a live on how to promote yourself in your career when you're not in the office full time. So if you are working hybrid or fully remote, and you're feeling like I'm not really visible in the organisation, then please do tune in next Wednesday for that live. So have a great week, and I will be back. Look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at 12:15.